100%. We're going to get right on into it, but first things first, I got to introduce my co-commentator. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Viz. I'm also a runner for this game and absolutely delighted to be here.
Alright, so, time will start when I hit space to go out of this loading screen. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so, Titanfall 2 is a military sci-fi first-person shooter developed by Respawn Entertainment. It runs on a modified version of the Source Engine. That means we have Source Engine holdovers like bunny hopping and air strafing that will allow us to assist in getting speed, maintaining speed, and zooming through these levels. I'm going to let Viz take over as I focus up here for this first section.
Yeah, so we're going to start out with our classic sci-fi shooter. Got to look at some lights, but we're going to immediately get into some movement here. Fluffy did mention B-hopping like we did because we're in a modified version of the Source Engine, but what we're actually going to be doing is what's called slide hopping, where we're going to be holding crouch and then doing basically the same motions as a B-hop, but instead crouched. This is more lenient and a little bit more powerful than a traditional B-hop, just because we have this slide that reduces our ground friction. You can also see Fluffy's camera is moving left to right. It's kind of slaloming. That's our classic air strafe. And right here, you start to see some of the nice new things here. We have a fully fledged parkour system. I like to think of this game from like the most layman's terms, like Half-Life and Mirror's Edge had a baby, and it's epic and awesome. All we gotta do is grab this little rocket launcher here and skip a little reload animation. You can take it over, Fluffy.
Yeah, so what the game wants us to do here is it wants to clear this out once, and then we can head on over to the Gauntlet, which you might have heard of, the famous world records and all that stuff. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing damage boost with these frag grenades to boost ourselves through the Gauntlet. It's worth noting that in the Gauntlet, we are considered immortal, so we cannot actually die in the Gauntlet. This is because it is a simulation. So, we are going to be just holding these frags until these explode in our hands, and then going from there. Oop. So I had a little bit of a... Ooh, sorry, lost my train of thought. So, it's worth noting that in the Gauntlet, you can't die. So, in the real world, aka every stage after this game, after this particular stage, rather, if we tried to do that thing where we let the frag blow up in our hand to boost ourselves forward, it would kill us. The same thing with shooting this rocket launcher directly at our feet, or directly at a wall that we just jumped off of. So any and all frag boosts, which will happen during the run, will be attempting to get the frag to explode outside of its kill radius. This can still give us a very large boost, but it can also, if done wrong, kill us and cause us to have to revert to checkpoint. So, all frag boosting from that point on from this point on in the run, is going to attempt to throw it at our feet or drop it behind us in such a way that it does not kill us and we still get the big boost. So I tried to do a little bit of a funny glitch there. If you get on top of this little indicator here at the right time, the Titan will actually come in on an angle. It is a very funny glitch that doesn't actually do anything, but very funny to see. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get it. So, we're done with the first level here, the Gauntlet, and we're going to be heading into the first level BT-7274. So, while we have this time, I want to go ahead and explain another major mechanic of this game that is specific to mouse and keyboard movement, and that is lurch. So, in Titanfall 2, if you jump and press a input direction within 0.5 seconds of the jump, you will lurch slightly in that direction. It's worth noting that this mechanic can allow you to make alterations to your aerial movement that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. However, it does also slow you down every time you lurch. So typically in a lot of sections we'll want to avoid lurch, but in other cases we will want to actually use the lurch for either repositioning ourselves or a mechanic known as tap strafing. So you might have heard of tap strafing from Apex Legends, the recent controversy surrounding it. It's worth noting that in Titanfall 2, where that does have tap strafing, you cannot actually bind movement options to the scroll wheel. So you don't get to see tap strafing as this exaggerated, I'm going to jump off a jump pad and then do a 180 and keep all my speed like you do in Apex Legends. However, if we do it right, we can still manage to get sharp 90-degree turns and keep a large amount of the momentum that we have going forward. So, in upcoming segments here, I'll attempt to show that off, but that is one of the mechanics that I wanted to get out of the way right away, because tap strafing becomes incredibly important as we go on. So, lore dump here. We were part of a militia fleet heading to the IMC planet of Typhon. The IMC is the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation, which is a big conglomerate of mega corporations that want to take all your resources, and we're part of the militia, the people who are fighting back against the IMC. We're the good guys. We were approaching the IMC planet of Typhon. Turns out it was way more heavily defended than we anticipated, and we got shot out of the sky. So we're in these escape pods right now, falling down to the planet, and we're going to be entering a short gameplay sequence here. So it's worth noting for this gameplay sequence, we don't have our parkour mechanics up until after this, because we are just considered to be a militia grunt, which is more or less a, just a regular infantry unit with no special powers. But we still have access to slide hopping and air strafing, so we'll be using that to get through this small segment here. And then we will head into probably the most infamous cutscene in this game, the 18-hour cutscene. But before that, we will just get on through here. So we're going to start off slightly sprint forward and then immediately jump into crouch, slide hop through. The hope here is that none of these NPCs decide they want to be trolling and get in our way. And perfect, we managed to get through with no issues. And now we are in the 18-hour cutscene. So the lore dump of this section here is our teacher, Captain Lastimosa, who was with us in the simulation in the first level, has found us, and he is going to attempt to get us to safety and fight off these Titans that are going to be here. The Titans from the mercenary group, the Apex Predators. Once again, that might sound familiar to you if you've played Apex Legends. So, while we've got some time here, there's another thing I want to go over in terms of movement mechanic, and it's related once again to lurch. So, as I mentioned, every time you lurch in this game, it does slow you down. However, there are ways for you to avoid lurch in many different scenarios. So for example, if we want to get a lurchless double jump, when we go to do a double jump, and we want to, say, strafe to the left, we'll hold A and D, double jump, and then we'll release D to basically start strafing in that direction, and then... my train of thought is losing here. And then, because we were already holding A, we don't incur the lurch by pressing A, therefore allowing us to continue a strafe out of a double jump without incurring lurch. Because lurch will happen on any sort of jump. A wall jump, a single jump, a double jump, any jump that you can imagine, lurch can be incurred from it. Worth noting, there's a funny little glitch here. As you see, if you click on that guy, Richter, in front of us, if you click on him while he's in front of you, for whatever reason, his jacket just freaks out a bit, and it's very funny to see. But, the 18-hour cutscene is reaching the halfway point here. The Apex Predators, unfortunately, they took out Lastimosa and his Titan, and we've been asleep for more or less this whole time. Now waking up, oh no, these Prowlers are in our face. We don't have a gun. Well, that's the end of the run, everybody. Time is coming up. Oh, never mind. Alright, so while we have a second here, this is a controllable point of gameplay, but it's effectively part of the cutscene. I'm just going to show a visual demonstration of lurch. So we aim straight down, shoot a bullet, jump and tap a direction. As you can see, we, lurch slightly in that direction. And hey, the Titan's alive. Hey, Lastimosa's alive. And now he's not. So Lastimosa here is about to have his last moments. And what's going to happen here is a very rare thing, but an important thing in the lore of this universe. So what's happening, Lastimosa is a pilot. Pilot are these super soldiers, basically. They've gone through rigorous training to be able to be at the skill level that they are, to be able to be allowed to pilot a Titan. What Lastimosa is going to do is he's promoting us to acting pilot, which allows us to take his jump kit, take his helmet, and all of his pilot tools, and then also gives us permission to embark and control his Titan, BT. So, once we're done with this sequence and we get into gameplay here, we will have almost all of our parkour options with us. The one exception is we will not have our double jump till a later portion of this level. which means this first section here is very unique in the sense of Titanfall's movement. So here we go. We're getting into gameplay post the cutscene here. We're going to start off by wall running there and jumping off to subvert a speed cap, allowing us to get into a slide hop earlier than the game wants us to. Now, since we don't have a double jump for this section, a lot of our lines and jumps have to be very purposeful, because in Titanfall 2, if you make a movement mistake, you can very often correct it by simply double jumping. However, since we don't have a double jump here, any movement mistake that I make could absolutely lead to me, falling into a pit and dying, and having to revert for checkpoint. So everything you see here is more or less purposeful from me. If you see me ever make like a sudden jerk or a slow down, it's usually because I'm aware that if I continued on the path I was going, there would be issues. So right now, the main goal is to get a bunch of batteries for the Titan BT, because he is very low on power, and unfortunately, he's a hungry little boy. Oh, okay, we're just going to quickly cloak there for safety, because I didn't quite get the thing that I wanted there. So BT is a hungry little boy. He needs a battery to be able to actually do anything, because he's very low on energy. And right here is basically the end of the sequence where we don't have a double jump. So we will get access to our double jump here, and now you get to see the full range of parkour movement. So speaking of parkour movement, whenever we touch a wall in this game, we have the option to either run on it or try and kick off of it right away. Oop, this barrel is being very unkind to me right now. So Titanfall 2 runs at a native 60 ticks in the single player mode. Basically, if we try and jump off the wall within the first 5 ticks of being off of it, we will get a speed boost, with the biggest speed boost being jumping off the wall at the first frame. Right here, I just did a little something known as a slant boost. By falling onto a sloped surface and then landing on it in the right location, I can transfer all of my vertical momentum into horizontal momentum, which lets me keep it and jump across that river. Now we're going into Ravine, and this is a difficult section, so I'm going to let Viz take over.
Yeah, so right now, all we did right there is a little bit of a river jump. Now Fluffy's going to attempt to pull a frag here and do a little boost. Got to be very careful. Oh, it doesn't quite go well there. These boosts are very finicky sometimes. They're just, you want to get a good boost, but the better boost you get, the closer you are to death. So we're just going to have another shot at it. Relatively good checkpoint. So yeah, let's to elaborate on the wall kicks that Fluffy got to mention a little bit. The faster you do a wall kick, the more of a boost you get off of it. So, alright, gotta just recover here. The faster you hit a wall kick, so you hit like a first tick wall kick, as we call it thirsty, you will get a lot of speed boost. And as you can see here, in this section we call ravines, there's a lot of wall movement here, wall to wall. So we're gonna go left, right, and hopefully hit a bunch of wall kicks and build up some good amount of speed so that we can carry it all the way into this next section called encampment. Alright, Fluffy makes it out of there with a pretty good amount of speed. They actually do a kick, that's not part of how you do a wall kick, but you can do it. Into ravines we go with a relatively good amount of speed, despite the mishaps we had earlier. Very well improvised from Fluffy. Into encampment, and we're going to lead into the second ship, where we are going to get our second and last battery we need to feed BT, because again, as Fluffy said, very hungry boy. Right on in, and we've basically made it past the most difficult section of movement here. Now we're just going to cruise our way on over to the last battery here after we climb up here into a vent. A little bit of spam jumping. And we're going to get right back into it with Fluffy. How are you feeling?
Nah, that could have gone better, but ultimately it still went pretty fine. One death to a frag is definitely nothing to be worried about at a marathon. It happens. So once again, we're going to do another slant boost here to get some speed to carry us across this next section here. So now we're going to return to BT, and the main thing to note here is we have 2 frags left. We're going to pull a frag, throw it in a purposeful location, pull another one, throw it in a purposeful location, and if we do it right, so I did end up accidentally missing this guy, which is okay, because we can still kill him very quickly, but the goal of those 2 frags is to kill all of those specters that spawn very quickly, which allows us to insert this final battery into BT very quickly. So overall, pretty good BT. The death certainly hurts, but it is by no means a run killer, especially considering I got a very good checkpoint on that. And now we're going to move on into the final section of BT7274, the second level of the game, which is the Titan tutorial. So this gives me a chance to talk about how Titans work in this game. Titans are treated like giant players or giant pilots, in the sense that they still have the capability to airstrafe when they're in the air. However, they do not have the same range of parkour mechanics that pilots do. They do, however, have these Titan dashes that are on a constant refreshing cooldown. You can have a max of 2, and they boost you forward quickly in the direction that you are holding, and if you boost off of a high ground to a low ground, you can keep the entire speed of that boost the entire time that you're on the ground. However, Titans are not necessarily about movement, they're about combat. So, the section here is supposed to teach you how to use the tools that you have. To start off with, we have this Vortex Shield. It absorbs projectiles and then reflects them back at enemies. I'm doing a little bit of a strat here to try and kill these Spectres in a very specific way. Unfortunately, I didn't quite work out, didn't get the RNG I needed with the gunshots. Did finally kill that guy, but it progressed to the next section of the Titan tutorial. At the same time it usually does, so the strat really only saves time by progressing it forward a bit faster, and we have managed to do the rest of this fairly effectively. So the last thing to do here is basically a mini-boss, which is going to be a Titan dropping. This is basically your introduction to Titan combat. We're going to do a strat on this guy referred to as No You, by me at least. So the goal here is to get close to him and try and manipulate him in a specific way. We're trying to get him to go to the left or the right here. Right is good. Now we fire all these bullets into his Vortex Shield, bring up our own Vortex Shield, reflect those bullets back at him, and then shoot him down for the rest of his HP. And it's worth noting that anything that is absorbed into your Vortex Shield, the damage is increased when you reflect it. Had to wait for an audio cue there to make sure I didn't go too early. So yeah, as you can imagine, damage that goes between 2 Vortex Shields gets increased by a little bit more. And it basically allows us to just one-clip the Brute, kill him very effectively, and we can move on into the next level, which is Blood and Rust. So this is going to be the first example of like real Titan movement at the start here. You'll see me making sure that the Titan dash is always on cooldown, and, if I can manage it, always dashing from high ground to low ground. I'll also be holding crouch whenever I'm doing this, because in Source Engine games, when you're in the air and you crouch, it brings your legs up rather than brings your body down. Thus, it allows you to prevent yourself from hitting the ground for a little bit longer, and as well, it lets you slide on top of tones like that. That's called Tone Slide. It's a cool little thing, and I love doing it every time. So, we're going to pick up a Titan loadout here. In this game, you have different loadouts you can equip in the single player. The Tone loadout is going to be important for a boss fight later on. Right here, we're going to disembark earlier than the game wants, and we're going to go through some routing to get up to the location that we need to hit. Earlier than the game... Oh, that did not quite work out the way I wanted it to. That's okay. I should still be fine here, provided no series of unfortunate events happen. Okay, perfect. And we're in, hit the button, and we're ready to go. So I need an audio cue here.
Making me sweat, Fluffy.
It's fine, I'm fine. Alright, I need an audio cue here, then I'll let Viz take over.
Yeah, so this is Blood and Rust. It's an incredibly tight movement section of the game, just because we're in these indoor tight sections. You can see we're already just in a locker room, sliding underneath half-open doors. Now we're going to be wall kicking off these walls, hopefully, and taking this nice little fun water slide. And we're going to start transitioning into an area called Sniper Canal. Why is it called Sniper Canal? Everyone's got snipers, and it's a giant canal. It's very tough to move around, but if we can get this movement correct, it's going to look absolutely beautiful. Fluffy gets a good start. Second to last wall kick. Alright. Has to take a backup wall kick there. Can't take the most direct line, but it was absolutely beautiful nonetheless. Here we're going to start to see the power of tap strafing. We got these 90-degree tight turns. Fluffy's going to hopefully be able to take them at speed. A little bit of a mishap with a wall, but for the most part you start to see that we can start to take turns a lot tighter than we can naturally with just air strafing. Leading over here, we go through this opening door, a bunch more wall kicks, and we're so many enemies we need to deal with. Just watch Oh, luckily we have a shotgun and a cloak if we're ever incredibly scared, like I am right now.
It's fine. It's okay.
And yep,
It's
moving
not a
on
big deal.
through. Fluffy, you gotta watch it. I can't. You can't do this to my heart.
I can do it to my heart just fine, dude. I don't know what to tell you. If you're getting scared by my own gameplay, it just means you have no idea that I'm completely fine. It's fine, dude. I will tell you when I'm in danger.
Alright, Fluffy. Well, right there, they did a little bit of a thing called a bump launch, where you kind of shove yourself in the corner, hold crouch, and spam jump, and just refresh your double jump a whole ton. Now we're heading into this area where it's a little bit of a wave fight, or it would be if it wasn't for what we're about to do right now. Fluffy's going to press some particular dialogue options that's going to keep our friendly BT in a specific spot. They're going to jump over here, around an invisible wall, go to BT through this fence, and balk onto him and right on in, and we've just skipped, like, I don't know, 5 minutes of fight?
Yeah, it's about a 5-minute fight section. It is... Titanfall runners definitely do not, like, remember. Like, we take it for granted how much time that skip saves, that sludge skip. But we're now going on into the fight here, so something I want to explain real quick as we go into this fight. The Tone loadout has a lock-on mechanic. If you get 3 lock-ons onto a target, you'll be able to fire a missile barrage at them. You can also stack multiple of these, which means you can fire multiple missile barrages. We'll be taking advantage of this during this fight against Kane here. Just had to let him do that. It's absolutely beautiful. Love that. Wow! So we're going to start off getting one lock-on on each of them. And then we're going to get a lock-on on the Brute, fire the entirety of this volley into the Brute, manage to kill him. One more volley into Kane. We're going to do something known as a swap reload to reload our gun faster than just waiting for the reload animation by swapping loadouts. Fire our Titan core at Kane, and beautiful. Just absolutely take out that fight. And now we pick up...
Just a textbook Kane.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So, this is another sequence where we're just waiting for the level to end at this point. So, while we're here, I'm going to take an example to show off tap strafing and also explain something. You might have noticed that the language of this game is not in English. We are playing on the Mandarin version of the game because spoken dialogue can actually be a trigger to help progress the game. And the Mandarin dialogue saves 38 seconds over the course of the entire game. So that's why we run in Mandarin. So in terms of tap strafing, you know, you see this is the way I normally turn with air strafing, but if I try and tap strafe around a corner, I can get like a full 90-degree turn and keep a very large chunk of the speed that I had before I did the tap strafe. That's how important and strong tap strafing can very well be. But that's going to be it for Blood and Rust. We're now going to move on into the Abyss Chapter 1. Into the Abyss Chapter 1 is basically a majority Titan section with a little bit of pilot movement at the end. So, I'm going to take this time while we're going through this, because it's not super interesting, to explain something the Titanfall speedrun community only found out a little while ago. So we just picked up a new loadout called Scorch. Scorch is a thermite-based loadout that does incredibly high DPS. It has an ability called Flame Trap, where if you ignite it, it'll actually cause a circle of thermite to go off where the trap was ignited. We were recently told from the competitive community that there was a way to actually duplicate these trap explosions to stack the damage. So you'll be seeing me take advantage of that in a few locations, mostly at the end here, during a section where I have to kill a few Titans in order to progress. Coming up here is a trick known as Wall Boost. We're going to be dashing at specific times in order to get ahead of the game's manipulated cycle. So the hope here is I was a little bit off, but basically that wall right there, if I was correctly done, I would have been pushed by that wall all the way over here and saved some time. It's worth noting that if you are not in the right position at the end of that wall boost, the game will kill you, so you do have to disembark to miss that. But right here, I'm going to run up, I'm going to look straight up, activate my flame shield, And that is going to detonate the trap, which is going to actually cause a significant amount of damage to one, and then I'm going to just flame core the other guys down. No problemo. And now we just picked up another loadout, which is Brute. Brute will come into play later on, so we'll get to that later on. And this is the only pilot section in this level here. We're going to tap strafe around this corner. Unfortunately, that guy got in my way. Very unfortunate, but we need to hit that button, and then we need to get out of here. But these guys are surprisingly accurate for easy difficulty right now. And now we hit that button, and we end up falling on down here. So when we hit that button, the kill plane here is actually completely removed. And by removing the kill plane, we can fall and hit the end level trigger earlier than intended, which saves a couple seconds. And now, we move on to Into the Abyss Chapter 2. This is kind of an unfortunate stage, because Into the Abyss Chapter 2 has some really cool movement. Like, we start off here, I get some momentum conservation from a platform, and then, hey, look at all this. I can wall kick off of there, I can get a jump onto here, I can carry all of that momentum I got technically through this entire section, and none of it would matter, because unfortunately, Into the Abyss Chapter 2 is in its current state an auto-scroller. So, basically, we're going to be coming up on an assembly line a little bit later on. Sorry, Mr. Marvin. I just felt like it. So right here, ahead of us, you'll see an assembly line go off. When we load into the level, this assembly line starts a cycle. There is a bare minimum amount of time it takes for this cycle to reach the final platform of this section, which means as long as we get there before that first platform reaches it, we don't really need to worry about anything. I am fine. Okay, I don't understand how I just saved that, but let's just move on. It's no big deal. So, because we only need to get to the final platform before the first one reaches there, the first moving platform reaches there, we do this. We come to the outside here, which is a route found by Told Spice, simply just referred to as Told Spice Route. We go along the outside and we reach the final platform. So, while I have you all here, I want to mention that Into the Abyss Chapter 2 currently has a bounty on it that is over $2,000. If you can find a way to skip to the end level trigger, or at the very least, cause us to skip this waiting section for this platform here, you can get up to $2,000. And that's really cool. So please help us skip this level. We don't want to be sitting here. But since we have to be sitting here, I'm going to try and do some little fun thing here, which is my totally original, definitely not copied from anybody else, man versus machine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and make sure that all of these little ticks and these big robots, these stalkers, I'm going to try and make sure that all of these guys are dead. And then I'm going to have 2 guys still alive and 1 Spectre robot that I can hack right here. Alright, so that's should be 2 guys left, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and hack this guy here, and ladies and gentlemen, it's man versus machine. Battle of the Flesh versus the Battle of Steel. So we start off, the man is getting some shots off, the machine has yet to return fire. One of the men is on the left. He sees the robot, but he just decides he wants to back up. He's not willing to take those shots right now. One of the men is getting shots off. A smoke grenade is going to come out, but also a smoke grenade in response to smoke grenades, and the coordinated smoke grenade assault is making the man the victor! Ladies and gentlemen, man versus machine, definitely original, not a variation of anything you've ever heard of. Trust me on that, I'm an expert. So, as you can see,
beautiful.
This is the first platform here. I'm just basically going to wait a little bit, then I'm going to cloak. This makes sure that the, as you can see, a smoke grenade went off where I was standing. That's effectively what I was trying to avoid. If a smoke grenade landed on this platform before it went off, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So, now that we're done with that, there is a section, the only section of this stage that actually matters in terms of you being able to lose time is dome launch. And that's because in Titanfall 2, when you're on a moving platform like this, if you were to jump, you keep all of the momentum that you have from these platforms. This means that if we jump at the right time, well, you know, we can manage to get very high speed. You saw me do it earlier at the very start of the level. You saw me do it as I reached the first section of the assembly line. So we're going to do it again here to attempt to hit a get a very high jump, like all the way up there to some scaffolding. I have a specific lineup here, and I'm hoping I'm going to get this. But if not, it is not the biggest deal. Ideally, we get the perfect one. Maybe we'll have to go for the backup. No big deal. Also, by the way, Ash here says PogChamp as her last line. You cannot unhear it. Alright, gonna have to go for the backup here. Alright, still worked out very well. So, I was a little bit low, so I was a little bit early on my jump timing, but thankfully, going a little bit early, there are ways to back it up to continue to get the vertical height that you need. So, now that we're done with that, there's no real way that we can lose time without massively screwing up, but there is still one more major skip that, again, Titanfall runners tend to take for granted, called Dome Skip. Now, it's this kind of complicated setup I'm going to have to show you. So, right over here, we want to go through this wall. So we have to slide like this, jump like this, and we have to very specifically wall run for this amount of time, double jump again, wall run there, and then we just walk through the wall. The wall doesn't exist there. I was just trolling with you the whole time. You can actually just straight up walk through that wall, and it's very funny because a QA tester at Respawn saw the GDQ 2017 submission for this game, and he said, hey, I was a QA tester for this game. I really like how you're going out of bounds here, but there's actually a better way to do it. And then some searching happened, and people ended up finding that that wall just doesn't exist. So, we're now going to be standing here, and the reason we're standing here is because when the screen goes dark here, what's actually happening is we're being teleported to a completely different area of the map. It's the magic behind what's happening. So by standing here, we end up in a position where we fall right onto the end level trigger, and we can progress into the third stage, into the Abyss Chapter 3, and holy heck, I need a second to breathe.
Yeah, you take that, Fluffy. Yeah, right here we'll just be going into Abyss 3, one of Fluffy's favorite levels. It has some very tight movement right here. You're going into these very like claustrophobic kind of spots, just jumping, matching jump, and it's very high octane throughout. Fluffy's gonna set up a little trick here where they're gonna slide hop, press this button, and jump into one of these little hexagonal slots here. Jump out of it as the cylinder moves. We call that cylinder skip. And right here, they're going to try to get a routing that we call Decept Caverns, found by our very own S-Deception. And if they jump correctly, they should not hit any enemies and also not hit any geometry on the roof. Very nicely done, very clean. Grabbing this wall, jumping off it, getting some speed off it, wall kick, absolutely beautiful. Get to BT in block, he's in an absolutely gorgeous position. And now we're just gonna take BT towards the end level, where we're supposed to be fighting Ash, who I believe's been announced as a Apex Legends type of thing. I don't keep up with it, Fluffy. You do, probably.
Yeah, so Ash is actually the new legend in the next season of Apex Legends, and the trailer for it showed what actually happens during the fight sequence here with Ash, where we execute her, and then by ripping her out of the Titan and crushing her. However, I'm sorry to say we will not actually be fighting Ash here, because we're going to completely skip her. So we're about to do the Ash skip. So we come over here, we dash, we hover using the Brute loadout, and then we crouch, we can get on top of this pipe, and then we disembark. What disembarking does there is, if the game detects that BT and Cooper are in a position where they cannot safely disembark, the game will teleport BT and Cooper to the nearest safe location, which if we're on past the rung of that pipe up there, that happens to be out of bounds. I might have just messed up here. Nope, I managed to do it. Okay, so as a result of that, we can end up getting out of bounds, walk a razor's edge, avoid the Ash fight trigger to spawn the cutscene, and thankfully disembark through a wall, get on top of here, and the end level trigger is always loaded in this stage, so we can safely just move on out of here and continue on into the next level, which is Effect and Cause. So, Effect and Cause, if you've played this game before, this is the level you remember. If you have friends that have played this game, this is the level they always talk about. So, we're going to start off by falling in here, and while we go through some movement, you'll see we're in a very destroyed and desolate building. You know, the foliage has started to grow inside of here. Wait a minute. What happened? Physics.
I don't know. I don't. It's new and shiny now. I don't know what happened, dude.
Oh, we're back to the foliage and everything. What's going on? If you can't tell, what's happening is that the time is actually shifting, is what's going on here. So, I'm going to go for a bit of a frag boost setup here. It may or may not work. That's not going to work. Yeah. That's okay. So I threw that frag a little bit too early. Normally, in that situation, I'd want to wait for the frag to beep at least once. However, because I threw it too early, I ended up completely out of its blast radius and didn't get a boost from it. That being said, I still ended up getting a good wall kick and some good air strafing there to still end up get to this helmet. By the way, Lord Dump, our mission was supposed to be to rendezvous with Anderson? Is it Captain? Anyway, he's just hanging out.
I couldn't tell you.
I completely forgot what Anderson's rank was, but more or less, he's the leader of this mission that's supposed to be going on, and he's just hanging out. He doesn't feel like doing it anymore. No big deal. And now we are in a huge waiting section here. So while I go and have some fun writing stuff on the wall, if you have any donations, now is a perfect time to knock a few of them out.
Alright, I do have a donation. I've got 50 euros from Forte, saying smiley face.
Thank you, Forte.
What excellent timing.
Excellent timing indeed. I can tell you a bit about the marathon if you wouldn't mind.
Go ahead.
So, we are raising money for Minds, which is a nationwide organization committed to prevent mental health issues and to support everyone who is dealing with mental health issues themselves or within their families. All of your donations go to Minds.
Yeah.
Want some more?
Yeah. We got a little bit of time.
A little bit of time. In that case, I want to thank ESA for supporting the event and allowing us to stream on their channel. For more information for the upcoming events and changes due to COVID-19 outbreak, make sure to check out esamarathon.com.
Alright, so we're about done with this waiting section here. So what we're going to do is, normally there's a hole in the building here that has an invisible wall around it, so we can't just parkour up into it and skip the sequence. So we're going to wait for BTR to raise his hand here, and we're going to do a wall run, and then jump off. We're going to get on the zip line near the top and hit a dialogue option as soon as it's available. And that will end up saving a few seconds over just waiting at the bottom to slide the whole way up. And now, we're going to lead into one of the coolest tricks in Titanfall speedrunning, FTL, or Faster Than Light. This was a routing trick found by Brian Otto, the, well, I was going to say the current world record holder, but he's now second place due to Zweek just breaking the world record a couple days ago. Shoutouts to Zweek, shoutouts to Bri. So what's going to happen here is we're going to try and take advantage of the time swap on purpose. So as you can see up here, these laser grids blocking this door. We're going to attempt to use this laser grid to boost us incredibly fast to end up skipping through the last section here. I believe I got it. Yes, I did. Let's go. That's beautiful.
What a beauty.
Mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. It's so beautiful. Oh, feels so good to do every time.
Basically, we are outrunning the time shifts, and it's just amazing. You're using lasers to outrun time. I mean, how else? When you describe a trick like that, it's got to be awesome.
All right. So, now we're heading into Effect and Cause Chapter 2 here. So, here's the great thing. All that time swapping that was happening in the previous level, we can control it now. So, this is my favorite level in the entire game because of that. I really love how you can end up moving through the level, constantly swapping time to make things available, and then, you know, open the path forward. Like right there, I have to swap time, then swap time again, and now I have to swap time in order to hit this button, and then move back, get around this corner. Oops, a little bit off there, but that's fine. We got Prowler RNG, so I'm going to swap time for half a second to make sure I can get past him. Or we can just land on top of his hitbox, that's fine. No worries, we'll just get through here. Walk through a scripted sequence here, so worth noting, if enemies are going through a scripted sequence, you can walk through them, which will save a little bit of time versus just waiting to kill them or waiting for them to get out of the way. Come over here, hit a button, and now we're in the first waiting section of this level. So at the moment, I'm going to take an example to show something. So we see Major Eli Anderson here, and then Major Eli Anderson down there. And now Major Eli Anderson is up here and not down there. Basically, how this level is structured is every time you swap time, what's actually happening is you're being teleported up and down a specific distance, because the levels are actually stacked on top of each other to simulate the time swap mechanic. And I just think that is very cool, very epic game design. Okay, so we can go over here now. We're going to set up for a frag boost here. The lore dump in this location is that we're finding out that the fold weapon is a big, like, Death Star-like destructive power force that we need to take care of. And it's powered by this thing called the Arc. And we need to figure out what the Arc is and where we can get it. Okay, that was a little bit late, but it should still be fine. Yep, got a good boost, and I'll let Fizz take over.
Yeah, so now we're heading into what is called cryo storage. It's this very tight little movement section here. It's so much geometry you can bonk your head on, but it's leading into what is called Hell Room. Not only because it's very bright red in there sometimes, it's also incredibly difficult to do. Because we have all this platforming that's, again, intertwined with us having to manage which timeline we are in. And right here, we're just gonna grab this zip line, and we're gonna start to set up for hopefully a very incredible trick called Snuggle Slide. Let's watch. We gotta press this button, land. Ooh, not quite. Normally, what would happen is that we would land on that moving platform, and basically shenanigans of platform speed, and we go zoop very fast. But instead of that, we're just gonna go normally fast and get to the end here. And we're going to be closing out ENC2 in just a little bit.
Yeah, so it's worth noting I abandoned trying to go for Snuggle Slide there because I recognized the situation that I was in. If I attempted to try and get the slide there, I would have been crushed by the moving platform. So that is mostly why I abandoned it there. But it's no big deal. We ended up still finishing that level pretty well off overall. Everything else went pretty good, including the frag boost. And now we're heading into the shortest level of the game, Effect and Cause Chapter 3. So, the IL world record for this ends when we start interacting with the Arc, and I believe it's at like 52 seconds at this point. It is a very fast stage. It's worth noting that there is a glitch you can do here called Time Stop, which makes this section much safer to go through, but ultimately isn't that much faster. So, once we put our knife into that little module there to hack it, don't worry about it, you can just do that with that knife. We need to hit a trigger on the door, and as well as an invisible trigger on this bridge, which will cause us to transition into a section where time is completely frozen.
BT.
So this section is probably one of the just most visually appealing I've ever seen in a first-person shooter. Just seeing time completely frozen, all these effects, all these different things going off around you, and you're moving through it as if it completely doesn't matter to you. So the final part of this stage here is just getting through this section, getting on up to the Arc, starting to scan it, and now we're done. We just have a cutscene left. So, next up is going to be the Beacon Chapter 1, and the Spare or Kill the Marvin incentive will be cut off near the end of that stage. So, if you want to get in your donations for sparing or killing the Marvin, definitely get those in pretty quickly here. We got about...
Someone please donate €26 to kill the Marvin, please.
Please kill Marvin. Please. But anyway,
yeah, we could get an update on that probably, just to count for so the chat knows.
Yep.
Alright, Kill or Spare Marvin is now at €25 total, with all 25 going to... Bear.
Ooh.
See, this is why we need €26 to kill. Please, chat.
Please, I beg you, give me this, chat. Alright, so the Beacon Chapter 1 is sort of an interesting stage. By going fast here, we can make this into sort of an auto-scroller, but at the same time, there are ways that you can still gain and lose time. But the main goal, the main purpose of this right now is we need to get ahead of BT. So we're going to jump onto this wall, and we're going to get ahead of BT. It's important that we get ahead of BT, because it allows us to basically move through the stage as fast as possible, because BT's giant hitbox will often get in our way. So now the point here is to get on over to this little building over here. This is basically the building where the beacon controls are housed. what we want to do is we want to kill these stalkers, all of these guys that are attacking the building right now. Now, if we kill them all before BT reaches a specific point, and then we run away from the wall to despawn the rest of the enemies, we should skip a very large dialogue sequence. There we go. So once BT says threat neutralized, so I waited there to embark into BT because there is a crash that can happen if you're a little bit quick on the draw with embarking into BT. If the BT says the line, "Caution, I detect poisonous chemicals inside the fog," after you've embarked into BT, you will actually crash to the menu there. So I waited very specifically to make sure that that line would play before I was fully embarked into BT. So now that we're done with that, we can effectively cut off the spare or kill the Marvin incentive at this point. So if I can get an update on that soon, that would be appreciated.
Alright, your prayers have been heard. It's going to be Kill.
Nice.
Kill pulled ahead out of nowhere. Now 61 euros. Versus still 25 on spare. Looks like we're going to commit a murder.
I'm very happy.
Absolutely.
About this.
Committing a murder and saving time.
Alright. So, we just had to basically wait for a dialogue sequence here to end. It's worth noting that the end level trigger here is loaded in once we get into this room, but it is sometimes it is not really possible to get to it early, so we have to wait for that sequence. And now we're heading into the Beacon Chapter 2, which is the single most popular IL in this game, and it's a very difficult one. So I'm going to let Viz take the reins.
Yeah, so this IL, or this level in particular, is incredibly tight in movement. It's test all of your fundamentals to the extreme, as we can see here. We're going to immediately... There's no ground, there's electrified walls. We have to wall kick off of these walls in order to gain some speed and take this hairpin relatively well. Fluffy has a little bit of mishap there, but recovers it very well. We're going to grab this softball, which is a grenade launcher, a sticky grenade launcher, which we're going to be able to use to boost ourselves. But first, we're going to Death Warp to set up a trick called Kill Room Skip. Normally, we have to go into a room where we have to kill a bunch of enemies in order to clear the area, but instead we're just gonna jump around it, and that was absolutely beautiful first try. That Fluffy made that look a lot easier than it actually is, but that tests you so much of your fundamental and foundational skill in Titanfall. You mess up a little bit and you will die in that trick. But absolutely great showing so far. We're gonna slide down here, go to grab our little AUG tour. We're gonna say hello to our good friend Marvin and immediately shoot them. Hello, goodbye. We're going to use this tool. This tool is going to be a little bit of utility. We're going to be able to flip some switches on and off, power things like this giant fan, and hopefully get a very nice clean, almost got a mantle, but still relatively good into that room. We're going to go through, bring up some walls, a little bit of a puzzle, so that we can go around. Now we're going to set up for a heat sink skip. We're going to pull frag, throw it at that wall, boost ourselves over this gap instead of going into what would be a movement puzzle. And I don't even remember the solution to that, so I don't want to go in there. And Fluffy surely does not either. We're going to set up, we're going to go into this giant fan. It's going to push all the way over here. And we're going to hopefully set up for a trick called fast fans, where we're going to transfer all this momentum through this section of fans right here. Let's watch it. Oh, Fluffy gets a good wall kick, good second wall kick. And oh my goodness. Just a little bit of a NPC trolling right there. They do be walking a little bit.
Yeah, it's worth noting that I just ended up having the wrong amount of speed to just land right in between them. But that is okay. That still ended up being a very good Beacon 2 overall for marathon standards. I'm very happy with that. And now we move into the most famous stage, I think, in the speedrun, which is the Beacon Chapter 3. So if you've ever watched a Titanfall 2 speedrun before, this is probably the stage that stands out in your brain the most because of an upcoming trick known as Super Fastball. We will get to that in a second, but first things first, we gotta make sure that we can get there. So the reason that we got this arc tool, the lore-wise, is that the beacon does not have any power, and they needed an arc tool in order to be able to power it up. So we're gonna go down here and we're gonna reactivate the generator. It's worth noting that they say that there's, potential radiation hazard in here. and they say that your suit will not protect you for long, but on the easy difficulty, which is the difficulty we run on, you can actually come in here, go take a nap, come back, and you'll still be alive. You physically cannot die in this room on the easy difficulty. So the whole goal here is to just get all of these greens lit up to red by powering them up, and then just return to the room. So, now that they're in here, I'm going to go up to my little cubby while this cutscene plays out, and I'm going to take this time to let you run a donation.
Alright, yes, a few donations came in for Marvin's death. Rest in peace, Marvin. You died for charity. We've got 26 euros from Pocket Trash saying, kill him. I've got 35 euros from Forte, not saying anything, but it still went towards killing Marvin. And I have 26 euros from Fizz saying, kill please.
I couldn't let it happen to you too, Fluffy.
Thank you, Viz. Alright, so now that this is done, we're going to go ahead and get the setup for Super Fastball going. So first and foremost, we need to activate a glitch known as Moon Boots. So, oop, I accidentally messed up there. That's my bad. So just to explain that, the Ronin has an ability called Phase Dash. If you're holding neutral when you activate it, you don't go anywhere. You want to be holding a direction. And I accidentally held neutral. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get the Brute loadout, we're going to wedge ourselves in this corner, use the Fly ability, and then disembark. You're not actually supposed to be able to disembark while flying. This reduces your gravity by 15% and is known as Moon Boots. This is integral to making Super Fastball work. So, the second step is we're going to get into BT's hand because he's going to want to throw us over there. The thing is, with 15% reduced gravity and a frame-perfect jump out of his hand, which is not difficult by the way, you just hold space, we'll be able to completely clear the frame to the crane here, and hopefully, if this goes well, we'll have a great time. If not, I've got a quick save ready to go. I'm ready to throw away any chance of this being a PB, and also leaderboard valid. So, we're gonna hold space and enjoy Super Fastball. Ooh, okay. That's fine. So unfortunately I had a little bit of a movement error at the end there because I was a little bit off in my speed, but overall, that is not super bad at all. Not worth resetting over at all. And that is Super Fastball. Ideally you would have gotten all the way to that wall, but, you know, no big deal. Next up here is going to be a Grav boost, a Grav Star boost. We're going to use the Gravity Stars here to boost ourselves as far as we can over to grab this module here. And it's worth noting that even if you're in the dead center of the explosion radius of a Gravity Star, it will not actually kill you. This means that we can take full advantage of the speed boost that we can get from it and use it for one, that Grav Star boost to get to the module there, but also two, a trick here known as Zipless. So I'm gonna wait. And beauty. So we get a boost from the center of that Grav Star. You see we got an incredible amount of speed right now. I am going so fast. We're going to get a wall kick off of there. We're going to jump right off top of here. We don't even need to worry about anything. And we embark right into BT. Mwah! Beautiful. Beautiful Zipless. Alright, so first things first. This is a fight sequence here. It starts off of a large amount of enemies spawning in scripted ways. We're going to try and kill a bunch of them at the right time. And now these guys here, we're going to shoot them. Thank you, Smitty.
Thank you, Smitty.
That's a fight optimization found by Smitty, so we always take the opportunity to thank Smitty for that. Main goal here right now is we want to kill as many of these guys. It's going to reach a point where enemies are going to infinitely spawn. Our goal is to get past the point where the infinite spawn ends as soon as possible. So we're doing a couple things here to either spawn manipulate or also make sure that they're in a good position that we can hit them with missiles. Gonna wait for a specific time in the music cue here. Alright, now that's done. We're gonna get up on top, try and look for the last couple of spawns here and wait for a big gong drop in the music. once the gong drop happens, we'll know that the enemies are all done. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start going a little bit sooner because I feel like, yep, I did actually end up missing the gong. Did not actually hear it. So it's a good thing that I chose to go a little bit fast. So once that dish fight sequence is done, we come over here and just bounce off of these walls back and forth to climb the whole way up to the top of the dish. This is actually another one of those skips that runners have done for so long that we kind of take it for granted. It skips an entire sequence where BT is supposed to throw you, as well as an additional climbing sequence. We get to the top of the dish here, we can insert it, and we're going to head on into the final section of the Beacon Chapter 3, which is going to be a Titan combat section. But first things first, oh no, we're falling. Wait, no, help me, BT, no! Good job, BT. Give me a thumbs up, bud. Give me a thumbs up, bud. I know you can do it. Yeah. Thanks, BT. Alright, so that's the end of the pilot movement section, as I mentioned. The last thing left here is a Titan combat section. There's a few things we do very specifically here in attempts to manipulate as well as kill the enemies that spawn very quickly. This first wave here, the wave after it spawns after a specific amount of time. So we're not going to use anything fancy. We're just going to wait for them to drop down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to walk over here, wait for a specific timing, dash forward, throw the arc wave. I'm a little bit early, so I ended up missing this guy. That's no big deal. So I got the one in the back. Little bit of slop on that fight there, but no big deal. We're gonna swap to the Scorch loadout. Look at a specific place to spawn manip the next Titans. They're coming down, so we're gonna throw down our flame wall here, and then we're going to try and stand in a place to manipulate these guys forward. Look straight up to dupe the traps in front of us and just destroy those guys in no time flat. Then we're gonna come over here, stand in this specific section. That's not good.
Well, he's over there now.
Not sure why he spawned there, but you know what? Marathon luck? Or as
we'll roll with it.
We'll roll with it. I still think I can make this work, right? So we're going to do this. And hopefully he gives it to me here. Okay, so he didn't give it to me. That's no big deal. Basically, the goal there was to try and kill him very quickly, cause him to do this nuclear inject faster. Didn't quite work out, but no big deal. Unfortunately, this means I won't be able to do Elmo clip. I'm very sorry next. But I had to adapt, and the adaptation meant no Elmo clip. I am very sorry. But anyway, we're now effectively done with the Beacon Chapter 3 here. So I'm going to take this time real quick to mention the other donation incentive I have for this run, which is the final stage of voice acting. Something that I love to do in my streams is whenever I do reach the final stage, I love to voice act the opening cutscene of the final stage. The marathon organizers have been very nice to give me the opportunity to have this as a donation incentive, and I know that the Titanfall 2 community loves it, so that is something I want to throw out. If we have not yet met that incentive, I believe we need 125 euros overall to grab it, and we can actually get an update. Where are we on that?
On the final stage voice acting, we are at 80 euros out of 125. So we need 45 more euros. If you want to see that happen, you know what to do.
Yeah, so it's worth noting you have the entirety of the next 2 levels to get in your donations for that. Before the cutoff will happen at the end of the arc.
Yeah. And you will get a little bit of a sampler platter, will they not, during the arc?
There will be a small sample of what to maybe look forward to. Alright, so, lore dump notion in this basic point. We have contacted the militia fleet, we have let them know what is going on here. They have arrived in force, and we are now going to be tracking the arc, the power source for the fold weapon. And the reason that we need to do that is because, hey, the fold weapon destroys planets, we need to stop it, otherwise Star Wars is gonna happen. And Star Wars is no good. Alderaan is no... You don't want to have what happened to Alderaan happen to Harmony. It's not good. Alright, so, the next level, Trial by Fire, is actually probably the most unique stage in the sense of the way this game is usually formatted. So, the format of this game usually has your levels be 50% Titan movement, 50% pilot movement, or entirely pilot movement with no Titans involved. This stage is actually super unique because you spend the entire time in a Titan doing both movement and combat sections in various locations to get through as fast as possible. So in this opening sequence here where we stand by for Titanfall, the name of the game is dropped, we're going to quickly swap over to the Ronin loadout, and this is important. The Ronin loadout has an ability called Sword Block, which reduces your damage by 75% or 70%, one of the two. I know it's within the 70 range. So we're going to go ahead and use the Sword Block in this location, because normally, if you tried to get close of any other loadout, these cannons would tear you to shreds, and you'd be dead in seconds. However, because the Ronin loadout has this, we can actually get through this wall, which doesn't exist, and set ourselves up for these Titans that spawn to go right into the combat sequence.
Yeah, this is a very heavy decision-making combat sequence, so right now all Fluffy's gotta do is basically kill as many of these Titans as possible in order to progress the wave fight as quick as they can. It's an incredibly tough section, so much improvisation and decision-making you need to do every second of this fight. See, resource management, cooldown management, look at that on-the-fly decision of turning around to use the core. And as soon as they can complete this wave fight, there will be a voice line they're listening for, which will be Pilot You With Me in English or Tihi Ko Lai in Mandarin. Right there. And now it's an escort mission. We have to take Sarah Briggs, Commander Sarah Briggs, all the way to an elevator. In order to do that, we're just gonna have to clear the way for as much as possible. Fluffy, are you ready to take back over?
Yep, I'm good. So, the whole point of what I did there is I'm trying to get all of these enemies out of the way so that Sarah will get into the tunnel. So thankfully the voice line plays that lets me know that she's in the tunnel, and now once again we're trying to clear out as much of this as we can. So Sarah is here. I'm trying to find out where the Reaper is. It looks like the Reaper is going to go down to Sarah. We're going to hope that she kills it very quickly. And the next thing we're going to do is activate Sword Core here. Our core management is meant to be very specific here. I didn't quite have the core management I wanted for this moment, and I messed up a little bit once again. So I'm taking advantage of a mechanic here called quick swapping. So when you swap Titan loadouts in this game, if it has an active tactical ability, like say Sword Block or Vortex Shield, what ends up happening is when you swap and then press that, you can actually end up shooting being able to shoot your weapon faster than if you let the full swap animation play out. Now thankfully, the escort mission has gone well. Sarah is right here ready to go. Pretty decent trial by fire overall. Getting us onto this elevator just a little bit past the 3-minute mark. Ideally, you want to get a 3-minute time or under. I was waiting for an audio cue there to be able to get up on top of here. So now that I got on top of there, we're going to activate the Ronin Sword Core ability. And you might have noticed before, but it's worth explaining now. The Ronin Sword Core is actually very unique in the sense that it refreshes your dashes at a much quicker rate than the normal dash timer. We can also, so we use that to end up speeding through levels. So right here, I'm going to lose my core on purpose, and I'm going to throw this arc wave and try and get the core gain through this section that will let me get another core out very quickly. So perfect. I got the core gain that I wanted. Hopefully this guy doesn't get in the way. Looks like he wasn't going to, but still good to use phase dash for safety since it does basically make you unable to collide with other units. We want to have another phase dash for this guy. He knocked us back a little bit, but that's no big deal. We actually kind of want to keep no shields here. So hopefully I get... Okay, no, unfortunately it didn't quite work out. Ideally the situation would have been I had no shields and then got meleeed by a Titan. So if you have no shields and you receive a melee from an enemy Titan, they can actually boost you forward or backwards depending on where they face. So ideally I would have been able to get a boost forward, but it's no big deal. Well, bye, Brute. I guess he just couldn't handle my epic gaming skills, and he just exploded in happiness. That's the end of Trial by Fire. This is the last level you have to get in your donations for that incentive. So right out of the gate, we're actually going to go ahead and quit to the main menu, and then we're going to use Mission Select to reselect the Arc. The reason for this is we need the Ion loadout for a specific fight strat against the boss of this level. And we do not pick up the Ion loadout in normal gameplay because it is very slow to get. Thankfully, whenever you enter a level for the first time, it is unlocked in the Mission Select tab. So, therefore, we allow the use of quitting the main menu and using Mission Select to get Ion, since it's already available from the start. So we're in a bit of an auto-scroller sequence here, and I'm going to let any donations rock if we got for about 30 seconds.
Alright, I've got one donation for 20 euros from Agent766, who says, I love TF2 and Fluffy.
Thank you very much.
And that's all I got.
Alright.
We're also, quick heads up, we're only 25 euros away from the voice acting incentive.
Yeah, and speaking of, you're going to get a little bit of a taste here of what you might be coming to expect. It is way longer than this, trust me. It'll be worth it. So, here is Viper. He is the single coolest dude in this game, and also the father of the Apex legend, Valkyrie. He's the perfect mix of anime and edge, and I just love it. Visual clear. I've got good tone. Alright, so we're now going to be heading into Barker Skip. This is a very high variance skip. By the way, BT's just up here. He's standing up, waving at us. Hi, BT. How you doing, dude? No worries. So this is a very high variance skip. I do need silence here because I need an audio cue, and I need to also hope that everything goes well on the side of variance. Oh, just barely, but we made it. That's Barker Skip first try. Alright, we're not done yet. The game can still technically kill us here, and we still have one more skip, which is the 6-4 skip right here. You need to slide off the 6-4 and jump correct on in, and that is just beautiful. You cannot ask for a better 6-4 skip than what just happened there. That is outstanding.
That should be illegal.
Whew. Holy moly. Alright. So now that's done with, I can quickly explain that the Arc is very hated in the Titanfall community because of how many things that can go wrong. Like I said, Barker Skip has a lot of variance. 6-4 Skip can have some variance. You can fall through the 6-4 once you land on it for seemingly no reason. Among a plethora of other things that could go wrong. Also, this sequence, you're supposed to technically kill all three of the gunships. All three of the turrets here. But we actually only need to kill the third one to progress the game. So I actually did that really well. But another thing that can happen is this guy here draws. If he comes down first over Davis, which is possible, he'll just float off into the distance and soft lock the level. And it's not great. It happened to me during the Speedy September Invitational Tournament, and I was very distraught when... Oh, God. Okay, we're fine. No big deal. Okay, so next section here, we're going to pull a frag, toss it, pull another frag, cook it, and attempt to kill as many of these guys as we can. The ideal situation here is we can kill basically all of them. So a lot of them ended up putting away. I'm just going to punch these guys to make sure I have the ammo in my gun that I need. I'm actually going to swap... Oh, that's not good. Swap over to the Spitfire here, take care of these guys. Now, I'm a little bit behind on this sequence, but basically, we have to kill a specific amount of enemies that the 6-4, when they get over here, will not kill themselves. The reason that they won't kill themselves is because they're not scripted to. But the ideal situation is we can kill, like, all of these guys in a very timely manner to the point where Gates says the room's clear. Alright, so that ended up working out really well. Worth noting, there's a couple things that can happen here. Gates can sometimes get caught over here where she normally stands, and she can waste a lot of time. The other thing that I've seen happen is one of the 6-4 ends up clipping through the floor, which soft locks the level, because you need all 4 of the 6-4 here in order to be able to actually progress through the level. Again, that's pretty rare, but it's a thing that can happen. So this is a breach and clear segment. You can just basically ignore everything. You don't have to actually shoot anybody whatsoever. So now we're going to head up here, and we're going to get onto this console. This console has two things that can mess you up. You can either, once you get off the console, have the game crash to menu and have to do it all over again, or the game could kill you by bugging out the fall timer. And that's something I haven't mentioned. This level does not have a kill floor, it has a fall timer. If you are falling for too long, the game will just kill you. Sometimes the game bugs out, and even though you're standing on solid ground, it'll just kill you. And here's another thing that can go wrong. So everything's fine, but BT's hand here, because we did Barker Skip, has a hitbox on it that he's supposed to throw us onto the 6-4 ship. So we have to stay away from the hand, otherwise it'll crash the menu. So now we're gonna get into the boss fight. 2-1, Viper's on station. Your run ends here, pilot. The RNG belongs to me. No time to save. No run to bless. So the Viper Zerg strat involves laser coring Viper twice. I did unfortunately miss the first one, but we're going to try and make this work by shooting him a few more times than we need. So we're going to shoot him with cores there. Okay, so this Scorch got in my way. Very unfortunate, but we can still make this work. So we're going to swap to the Expeditioner loadout, fire a few more of these missiles, and then fire a barrage of bullets at him. Hopefully he goes down. I'm going to turn around now. Please don't die. Please don't die. Okay, so unfortunately we didn't quite end up getting what we need to have happen here. So ideally the missile barrage would have killed Viper, and didn't quite work out. But it's no big deal. We survived. The Viper fight is done. And this lets me basically go ahead and explain something that would have happened had the Viper Zerg strat gone perfectly. So, this ship over here actually slowly gets closer to the ship that we're on as that fight sequence goes on. If we do that fight too fast, we can actually go through an invisible wall that is approaching us during this little cutscene sequence here. And if we end up staying past that invisible wall when the fight is done, unfortunately you aren't able to see it here. If we did do that correctly, we would have had to done one final thing, which is known as a mantle clip. So what would have happened is we would have come over here, we would have held towards here, and then we would have tried to mantle up to be able to clip through the wall as it's moving. Thankfully, we don't have to do that, and we can just shoot Viper, take him down. Sorry, Valkyrie. This was all my fault. I'm just making sure, okay? Just making sure the cannon is working, all right? All right.
I mean, we already decanonized it with Ash. I don't.
All right. So overall, there were some things that didn't quite go well there, but overall, that ended up being pretty good as a whole. So at this point, we're just more or less on a auto-scroller sequence. The level is done. And we can go ahead and probably cut off the incentive at the end of this level. Do I have an update on that?
Yes, you do. Forte donated 25 euros with another smiley face, and that puts us over 125 out of 125. You're gonna do some voice acting.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for the spare and kill donations, as well as getting to do this incentive. I love doing it, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. And if you are disappointed, I am sorry, but you won't be disappointed. It's okay.
But no refunds.
No refunds. All right, so lore dump here. This right here, we finally found the arc, the power sequence for the fold weapon. We need to get inside BT and get off this ship to get it to safety. This way, Cooper. Oh no, it appears that we are trapped. Oh no. So this is actually a very good sequence if you paid attention to the story, as well as you've been hitting most of these dialogue options. In a casual playthrough, the relationship between BT and Cooper is very well done. But basically, BT acknowledges that there's no way they can get off the ship, so Protocol 3 comes into play, which is Protect the Pilot. Protect the Pilot is basically a protocol that says you put your own life above the pilot's as a Titan. Sorry, you put the pilot's life above your own as a Titan. So now we're heading on into the final stage here, which is going to be the fold weapon. And here we go. Let's do some voice acting. Lisk, your problems are not my concern. Once you have delivered the Ark as per your contract, your payment will be transferred by the IMC. Just have my money ready. I'll get you your precious cargo, you useless niff. Oi, Titan! You're gonna open up and give me what I want. Voice command, not recognized. Let me just whip it out of him. Can't risk it. The Ark's unstable. Listen, hero. You have what's mine, and I want it back. Go on. Tell your Titan to open up. About what? His feelings? Still trying to be a hero, eh? I have a lot of dosh running on this contract, my friend. So tell your Titan, if he doesn't open up, I will shoot you in the head. Pilot in jeopardy. Ocular systems marginal. Cannot visually acquire pilot. Stand him up. You see him now? Right here. Right here. Yeah? You see him now? Functions compromised by severe. I don't care how broken you are. I know deep down something's still working there. Now open up. I'm going to shoot your pilot in the head. You still remember numbers, don't you? I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, that wasn't so hard, was it? Yeah, that's the problem with teams. If you don't win together, you die together. Quick little note, pay attention to Blisk here, does a big little flip, pay attention to the right side of your screen, and he falls into the grate. And it's very funny to see that. Which is the next little bit of dialogue. It's funny because you can imagine him shouting this from underneath the grate. Epilepsy warning, by the way, if you're susceptible to flashing lights, please look away right now. Real quick. Nice try, love. Say goodnight. Oi! Get the Ark out of here! We're running out of time! Alright, you should be able to look back, and that is the opening cutscene voice acting all done. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. So, lore dump. We got captured. They now have the Ark. That's not good. We're trapped. So we're going to do a little bit of an optimization here. So, this was found by Flotsam, but if you back up into the fire and nearly die, BT will actually start talking to you way sooner than he's supposed to. You're supposed to normally wander around the room for like 5 to 10 seconds. But by just backing up into the fire, you can make him do that a bit earlier, because he's like, no, Cooper, don't die, you can still live. Because he rips off his face and gives us the Seer Kit. This is the Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape Kit. So what's in this is a smart pistol. This is a literal aimbot pistol that they put in the multiplayer for some reason. Do not ask me why, of both games. We're going to get a data knife, which is the little handy-dandy thing we've been using to hack things over the course of the game. Just ignore the fact that we still have one in our hilt. And we're going to get BT's data core. This contains the entirety of his AI functions. So as long as this is alive, BT is okie dokie Loki. So, we're going to hack into this thing here. This is a difficult sequence coming up, so I'm going to let Viz take on over.
Yep. As soon as Fluffy's done using USB Type K right there, they're going to move right on into this tight sequence of movement. You don't have your double jump initially right here. Fluffy should hopefully get it right now. Yep, there it is. And now they're full-blown pilot again. A little bit of tight movement. Using this smart pistol to clear the way of some enemies, and hopefully they're going to be able to slide right smoothly, almost underneath that door. Then I can turn this corner, grab this zip line, and shoot some enemies out of the way, and then slide underneath these shutter doors. Some more tight movement right here through these 93 turns, as we see here. They're gonna blast these enemies right up. Oh, right, perfectly smooth out there. Kick off these 3 walls, one on the right, one on the left, another one on the left for fun? No, just right, left. Alright, good job, Fluffy. Moving right on through, we're going to get into this section where there's going to be turrets shooting at us. We're going to do some very precise movement on the right, jump off that, jump on top of this, and climb over the top of this as opposed to going through the center, through through the bottom center, and we're gonna call down a new friend. Hey Fluffy, how you doing?
That's a new segment, PB, for me. That's the fastest I've ever done that segment. Woo! That felt good, dude. Oh, that felt good. All right, so we insert BT's data core into this new Titan chassis. Fun fact, this is the Titan chassis that we called in all the way back at the beginning of the game inside of the simulation. So we're going to get behind BT, which skips some dialogue as well as a scripted animation sequence here. And now we're going to do a core gain strat referred to as Snuggle Core. This is a core gain strat that involves using the Legion's bar shot here. Nice, we got 60% out of it. Ideal situation is you can manage to get the lineup perfect so you get 100%, but getting 60% is by no means a bad thing. It allows us to get our core roughly 1 second faster than the old tone strat in most situations. And once again, we make use of the reduced cooldown on the dashes to dash on forward. This rock face here, it's just a ramp, don't worry about it. So before we get to this door, we are actually going to swap on over to the Scorch loadout. Then we're going to disembark and jump through the top of this door, which for some reason does not have a hitbox. That's actually a huge skip, by the way. It skips like 3 minutes of waiting if you don't get lucky. And now we just have to do some pilot movement through this last section here to get on over to the final boss. And hopefully I can pull off some recent fight optimizations found for this boss via the use of flame trap duping as well as Fizzy Sloan boss fight strat. So, very beautifully, we are now in and ready to go on this fight. About time they do something. I think a militia pilot's trying to be a hero. He's all yours. Keep the salvage. You said anything about salvage? I'll do this one for free. Alright, so what we're going to do here is pray that Sloan cooperates. We're going to throw down a flame wall, we're going to shoot, and then we swap to the brute loadout. We're going to shoot 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to reflect those back at her. Then we're going to manipulate these spawns right here. We're going to put down a flame trap right here. That's actually a little bit bad. Hopefully, yep. So we end up killing both of these guys really quickly. I'm going to have to do an adaptation here, which might not work out. But the whole goal here is to back Sloan up so that we can get a lot of damage on her right away. Nice, so we ended up working out here. So now we get the Ronin. We go 1, we go 2, and 3. It did not die, so we'll just kill him real quick. That should not be a huge deal. This guy is in our way, so we're going to have to adapt. So finally here, we need to take out Sloan. 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to activate Sword Core before we pull out the Arc Injector. And I don't know how I managed it, considering it was a little bit sloppy, but I did end up getting the additional thing here known as Pre-Charge. So, by activating Sword Core before we pull out the Arc Injector, as you can see, we have our gun out while we're inside the Titan here. This is not intended. We'll get to that. And then Pre-Charge is also a trick that if you can manage to start pulling out the Arc Injector before the PA system says the line full weapon priming sequence at 97%, the lights, as you can see in the bottom left, inside the fold weapon are, in fact, lit up. And this is important for later. So the reason why this having your gun out thing is important is because we can kill Blisk in this cutscene and decanonize Apex. This is known as Andy Shot. A Reddit user by the name of Shot Andy said, "Hey, I found a way to kill Blisk in this cutscene. Here's how to do it." And amazingly, it doesn't brick the game, doesn't soft lock or crash the game. It just skips 33 seconds worth of dialogue, which is great. It's fantastic. And Pre-Charge also saves 11 seconds. So that's 44 seconds of time saved during this cutscene sequence here. And I don't want to jinx it, but this is my best paced fold weapon ever, and I went into this split 11 seconds ahead of my PB. So if I can nail this escape sequence, this could not only be a final stage gold, but it could be a PB for me as well. So, as we get into this final sequence, I will call that time is coming up at the end of this escape sequence. I will call time, but I would like to request quiet time just to see if I can manage to get this PB. So, as we climb into the Arc Injector here, the lights are already lit up. We're going to hit the V dialogue option, which will shoot us out immediately, versus having to wait for the sequence of lights to charge up in the first place. So, here we go. We're gonna get shot out now. And this is the most appropriate time in the chat to press F for BT. Godspeed. Alright, I'd like to request quiet time as I focus up here. Time is coming up at the end of this escape sequence. I missed the trigger. That's the thing that can happen there. You can sometimes go a little bit too high and end up missing an important trigger. So unfortunately, I went a little bit too high there. That is fine and dandy. Time is still coming up at the end of the sequence here. And time. So, because I messed up the escape sequence there and missed the trigger, we did start losing time to the gold. However, I did PB by 1 second. So, that's technically a new PB.
We take those, Fluffy. We take those.
We take those. We take
Oh my
those.
goodness.
Holy moly. Marathon PB. That's crazy.
Oh. Fluffy, you know, the first time me and you appeared on ESA together, one of us PB'd.
Yep.
And now, second time around, another one of us PB'd. And, I mean, that's just destiny. Hey, Fluffy, we should get into more ESA stream runs and, like, you know, do this together. I think we could PB really quick.
Imagine we did another race and, like, we both PB'd, right? That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.